Homer in prose, obviously, go do it. If you can do it in a way that makes me, as a current day speaker, understand what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like, all the power to you if you can translate that sort of time period writing into our more contemporary speech without changing the words, obviously, because you're not allowed to do that. Speaking of which, when you go about cutting, you want to be careful not to harm author's intent, which is a big part of cutting, because what you're basically doing is you're taking someone else's work and you're splicing it up, you're cutting it up, you're changing it from when they originally had made into your own interpretation, your own story. So there's a dangerous line you want to walk where you want to perform the piece with the intent that the author had for it to be performed. I mean, obviously, if an author wrote this as a play to be performed on stage, we're not performing it on stage, right? But the most important thing is to A, not change more than 10% of the script, of the words, you know what I mean? And B, not change the original intent of the work. That's important in just giving credit to the writer kind of way, you know? Because you wouldn't want to, I mean, if you guys spent all the time writing a play to have some kid come in and like change all your characters into, you know, animals, and it just, I would feel personally offended that someone had, you know, mocked up my work like that. See what I'm saying? Cool, that's important. Other than that, I really want to emphasize to you that the difference between DI and prose, and the importance of, by the time you're done with DI, you should be tired, you should be exhausted, you should have left it all out. And I'm not saying that in a way that everyone thinks they should go out there and just scream for 10 minutes, you know? Obviously, you need levels. You can't cry for 10 minutes, you can't, you know, laugh for 10 minutes. You need different levels. You need to maybe start out with something funny, and then you go into a serious point, and then you go back to funny again, or, you know, you bring in this anecdote, you bring in this story. It just helps keep the audience on track. And also, it's important to make all of your emotions come from a genuine place. What's most difficult to watch is a performer who is faking it. And I say this because, I mean, in a sense, we're all faking it. I mean, no one is these characters, you know, we're all kind of putting on this facade. But if you can reach the emotions in a way that's familiar to you, in a way that you've experienced them. So maybe in the script it has, you know, she lets out a blood-curdling scream, right? Well, if I wasn't really feeling a blood-curdling scream at the moment, faking it would make it even worse. Like, sometimes you feel when you're in a piece that you're not really connecting with the character, there's a disconnect, there's something that's not really emotionally hitting you. And what a performer tends to do most commonly is push, right? You push the emotion, and you try and make it louder, or make her sadder, and in pushing, you actually make it more obvious how fake you're being. So instead of pushing, resist the urge to push out those false emotions and bring it back inside to you. And focus on, bring it back to your core, right? And become more, and take a breath in the middle of your piece. Don't be afraid to do that. I mean, obviously not a long, ridiculous pause, but take a breath, you know? Take a little bit of pause where you don't normally take a pause, and think about it, and then settle back into who you want to be, who your character is. That's kind of just a little tip, little thing I learned late in the game. So, any questions about that, about experiencing character, about picking apart pieces, or finding pieces, or what a DI is? I mean, it's pretty cut and dry, honestly. I think it's one of the easier things to explain because it's so much like a one-woman show, except, you know, of our space and all that stuff. And most of you have seen theater, and most of you have seen plays, So, anyone else? Oh, did I talk about the book as a prop? Yeah? I did last session.
You didn't.
Not this time? Okay, I'm sorry. All right, one more little thing. A difference between high school and college is that I mentioned we have our body, we have our voice, we have our space. We also have our book. And you could use the book as a prop, which is exciting. What I mean by that, if, say, you have a part of your piece about a book, this is in the most literal of terms, you can, you know, this is my character, and so she says, and so I went into my closet, and I pulled a book off the top shelf, and I searched through it. And so you can do that. You can pull your book off the top shelf and search. It's kind of a fun little thing we have. We also, you can use it in more creative terms, like say, yeah.
I've seen a baby.
Yeah, like, or I've seen a gun before, or a microphone. I've seen people use it as a baby. Sure. You know, it's about finding creative things. I told this to my last session I saw. My freshman year, someone in our district did a poetry on baseball. And he used his book as a mitt. So he would take it out, and he'd throw the ball, and then he would catch it. And then he talked about baseball the whole time. And that was kind of cool because you get that whole sound in there. So try and think outside the box when it comes to your literature and your book. DI's pretty liberal with that. I also saw a piece about, I don't know if you guys have seen The Goat or read it. It's a really interesting play. But basically, it's at the end, this woman kills this goat. And so it was a duo, and she had the book as the goat, and she kind of just like slammed it in front of him, right? And it was kind of like a unique choice, because usually we hold on to our books. But in that case, he chose to, not. And I did a duo last year about this guy who goes around recording all of his ex-girlfriend's conversations, right? So the way the last ex-girlfriend finds out that he's a writer, and he wants to write about his past relationships, and so he goes about pretending to apologize to you, and he actually, and just in his fake apologies, wants to get material for his writing. So he gets them all into hotel rooms, and he hides the microphone in the lamp, right? So part of the blocking was to knock, how she discovered he was recording all this was she knocked over a lamp, and the recording device fell out. So there was a point where the book was the lamp, and it got pushed over, and it just kind of spilled out like that. So there are a lot of cool things you can do. Try and think outside the box, but whatever you do, don't make your choices distracting to your literature. If they are there just because you want to do something cool, just because you want to throw your book in the air and catch it, doesn't mean you should. You know what I mean? Do it for a purpose, do it for a reason. And if you can't justify it, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. And justify it in good moral terms, in a good way. The same goes for cursing, the same goes for moving, the same goes for, if you just want to curse for cursing's sake, I mean, obviously, if it doesn't belong to your character, then you shouldn't be doing it. Any questions about that kind of selection, or, yeah?
Well, one of the things with the book is you do have to be very careful not to overdo it. I saw a piece once, the book became a butterfly or something, and they stood up there for the better part of 30 seconds going flap, flap, and I'm like, make it stop.
Yeah, right? Yeah, you kind of, I mean, there's a fine line, but like
you gotta be really careful
yeah,
it's not distracting.
It's just, exactly, because then that takes away from the literature, that takes away from your message, and that takes, most importantly, away from your thesis, which is the reason you're standing up there. It's not kind of to make pretty things, I did not make like origami book creatures, it's like, to give you something to take home, to give you an idea, a fresh start, a new concept. Okay, anyone else? Questions? Concerns? Everyone's good? Does anyone have an idea, or is getting started on a drama, and they, that's okay, we've got a few weeks, right? Got some time. Most important thing to emphasize is the genuine emotion. Take it from here only, and don't stop looking until you find something you love, because you can absolutely tell a performer who loves their piece from a performer who got handed a piece, because it's just in their eyes. So don't be afraid to make strong eye contact and speak out and take risks, as long as you go all the way with them. Don't do anything half-assed. Do it to your fullest capability. And trust in your choices, and make those choices and make them loud and clear. And be fierce, I look forward to seeing all of you in competition and rounds and your shining faces. Thank you so much.
Thank you.